Good afternoon. Before beginning the eduCLIMBER overview presentation, I hope your morning sessions were productive and informative. As we continue to build the new Professional Development Day framework, we hope that you are able to have a good blend of collaborative work time with your colleagues while working through the CAI cycle of development and specific trainings that will improve your professional practice. The objective of this afternoon's training is to introduce you to our newest tool to support your data-driven decision-making, eduCLIMBER. Throughout the afternoon, you will see how eduCLIMBER can be your easy-to-navigate, one-stop shop for student data. In this overview, I will be sharing some general guidelines regarding how we are using eduCLIMBER, how it compares to Renaissance Learning, how it supports our RTI system, and how we should use it to read data. I will also include a brief segment on navigation tools. From the evolution of the Post-it notes covered in stickers to the building-generated color-coded spreadsheets, our district has explored many options for collecting and visualizing multiple student data points. eduCLIMBER will serve as our data warehouse, providing an online data board that holds all state, district, and local teacher-made academic assessments in conjunction with the district's behavioral data. The benefits of moving to eduCLIMBER include replacing the paper documentation of literacy assessments on lit profile cards with electronic data that will follow students to graduation, eliminating the hours spent at each building creating spreadsheets that are then adjusted at each transition point, having one warehouse to house all pre-K-12 data on a student through their progression, and serving as an optimal tool for informing PLC and core intervention discussions on universal student data analysis, intervention referrals, and progress monitoring. After using Renaissance Learning and receiving training in STAR Reading and STAR Math last year, many of you may be wondering how these two tools differ. eduCLIMBER supports all assessments. It gives a broad analysis of language, reading, mathematics, science, and behavioral data across the district, schools, grade levels, classes, and individual students. It measures longitudinal data on students across multiple years. It contains tools to support goal setting, SLO development, progress monitoring, and targeted analysis. Renaissance Learning, or STAR Reading and STAR Math, supports district screening assessment. It gives in-depth analysis of reading and mathematics across the schools, grade levels, classes, and individual students. It measures data connected to the Common Core State Standards benchmarks for reading and mathematics. It provides instructional tools to provide support for students with specifically identified skill needs. eduCLIMBER Data Warehouse will store multiple data points on students throughout their time in the school district of Milton. Some data is programmed to automatically upload on a nightly basis from Skyward, while other tests are uploaded at the district level using CSV files. The data uploads that require no contributions on the part of staff include ACT Aspire, ACT, Access for ELLs, Ames Web, behavioral referrals from Skyward, Badger Exam 3.8, PALS, STAR Reading, STAR Math, WKCE Science and Social Studies, and WIDA WAPT. eduCLIMBER also has the unique feature to allow staff to manually input district data into the warehouse directly to provide even a more comprehensive look at student achievement and growth. At this time, we have or will be adding the following tests for manual data entry. K-6 literacy profile card assessments, including letter identification, letter sounds, concept of print, word lists, text reading, sentence dictation, next step guided reading assessment, writing assessments, and guided reading levels. As teams work through the CAI cycle of development and create important benchmark tests within their subject area, we may consider adding additional tests such as mathematics common summative assessments, physical education assessments, civics tests, or others to be added to the system. eduCLIMBER is not meant to house all items in a gradebook, but more so provide a warehouse for tracking common skill assessments across multiple grade levels. Today's training serves as stage 1 of the eduCLIMBER implementation process. During these training rotations, you will learn how to use eduCLIMBER for general data analysis. In future trainings, we will expand the use of eduCLIMBER to include stage 2, the development and assessment of common summative assessments and common formative assessments, as well as PBIS data input. Stage 3, measuring growth and monitoring progress of students using eduCLIMBER. Stage 4, developing SLOs. And Stage 5, full integration. Before looking at the data provided in eduCLIMBER, it is important to highlight a few critical components in reading student data. Through this next segment of the overview, we will be discussing percentile ranking, the district's breakdown of data, and the data as it connects to the response to intervention system. Please take a moment to consider the following question. What does it mean when a report says a student has the percentile rank of 60? Does it mean the student scored a 60 out of 100 on an applicable test? Does it mean that student is ranked 60th out of the number of students who took the test? Does it mean that student essentially received a D- on the assessment, barely passing? As a common measurement score for multiple tests, it is important to take the time to learn the true meaning of percentile rank and how it differs from straight percentages. In the world of statistics, percentile rank refers to the percentage of scores that are equal to or less than a given score. Percentile ranks, like percentages, fall on a continuum of 0 to 100. For example, a percentile rank of 35 indicates that 35% of the scores in the distribution of scores fall at or below the score of the 35th percentile. Percentile ranks are useful when you want to quickly understand how a particular score compares to other scores in the distribution of scores. For instance, knowing someone scored 235 points on an exam doesn't tell you much. You don't know how many points were possible, and even if you did, you don't know how that person's score compared to the rest of his classmates. If, however, you were told that he scored in the 90th percentile, then you know that he did as well or better than 90% of his class. The following table provides a visual representation of the district's benchmarks for the STAR screening assessment. These benchmarks align with national norms and college and career readiness benchmarks. They serve as a guide for decision making and should be used as a tool for initially analyzing student progress towards proficiency benchmarks. It is important to note that educators should use other data points and knowledge of the student when making decisions for instructional programming, differentiated instruction, and placement into interventions and extensions. A closer look at this table shows that students below the 15th percentile may be priority students for intensive Tier 3 interventions. Students between the 15th to 25th percentile may be priority students for selected Tier 2 interventions. Students falling between the 25th to 49th percentile could be considered for selected Tier 2 interventions or monitored learning supports. These students may or may not meet proficiency benchmarks without focused support. These students will be called our selected on watch or bubble students. Students falling between the 50th and 94th percentile are students expected to meet proficiency benchmarks within their grade level through universal classroom instruction. Students meeting the 50th percentile are meeting the standard goal for nationally normed standardized tests. Students meeting the 65th percentile are students meeting the standard goal for college and career readiness as outlined by the ACT. Students falling in the 95th percentile and above are students who would be possible considerations for PRISM or acceleration and further extension. As noted in the last slide, we will be using eduCLIMBER and the outline benchmarks to measure student achievement, growth, and progress through multiple test administrations. Often it is easy for us to use our time in PLCs, core intervention team meetings, and PSTs to focus on students who are not meeting benchmarks by great lengths, those previously identified as in the 25th percentile or lower. While servicing students at the universal, selected, and intensive levels, we need to consider ways to support students who often fall through the cracks. As we discussed last year, these were our universal basic students listed on our watch lists. These students often fall between the 25th to 49th percentile. This year, we have adjusted the benchmarks to include these students in our selected, on watch, or bubble category to heighten our awareness of these students at the universal level. These students may often see gains with strong differentiated instruction at the universal level, or they may need additional monitoring, support, and possible intervention to meet grade level proficiency benchmarks. While supporting all students in the classroom, these students could show the greatest level of growth out of all the students in the various categories. So some of you may be wondering, so do we expect 50% of our students to receive selected or intensive interventions if we are setting our line at the 50th percentile? No. In the previous slide, we were discussing students using percentile ranking that may shift from one test population to the next. The School District of Milton's RTI philosophy still follows the true RTI approach, seeking to service 80% of students at the universal level, 10 to 15% of students at the selected Tier 2 interventions, and 5 to 10% of students at intensive Tier 3 interventions. When speaking percentages here, 80% of our total student population are expected to be serviced in the universal classroom curriculum and instruction. 10 to 15% of our total student population are expected to be serviced in the selected Tier 2 interventions, both remedial and extension, and 5 to 10% of our total student population are expected to be serviced in the intensive Tier 3 interventions for both remedial and extension. Now that you hopefully have a better understanding of our RTI process, the data you will be seeing, and the intended use of our new data warehouse, let's get this party started and log into eduCLIMBER. During the presentation today, you will be logging in to our official district site. Your presenters will be using a presentation sandbox. This sandbox includes our district's actual data, but is anonymized with fake student and staff names to protect student data. Please follow your presenters' actions, but know that their names will be different. Thank you to all of you for taking the time earlier this week to complete the initial login to eduCLIMBER. If you have not done so, please follow the directions shared with you or ask a presenter for assistance. Remember, eduCLIMBER uses your Google username and password, and the district code is 1020. Once logged into eduCLIMBER, you will see your home page. The main screen shares a dashboard with district for select users, grade, my class, and student levels. The colored boxes can be customized per user. The basic navigation bar includes district, grade, my class, and student tabs. The following table shows the basic functions and staff access to the various levels. For the purpose of your PLC and district level trainings, all staff have been upgraded from the student and My Class access only to also include grade level access. Administration and district level positions will be provided with district level access to measure longitudinal multi-building data dives. eduCLIMBER provides drop-down menus that allow staff the ability to choose a school year, schools, grade levels, topics, and assessment types, in addition to setting customized searches on targeted benchmarks. When choosing multiple subject areas in a given test, for example, reading and math 4-star or writing and science for ACT Aspire, use the next menu to view multiple data points. When viewing eduCLIMBER charts, you will see multiple chart options that will give you the ability to drill down to various data points, view legends and labels, change chart types, and view printable charts. In addition to the buttons, staff may click on the charts in the My Class and student views to view individual student data. This completes your eduCLIMBER overview. I hope you enjoy your next 3 sessions on navigation, academics, and behavior PBIS.